So, welcome back to part 2 of our Food and Wine Spectacular. Our top chef slash photographer, Tim. How are you?
Oh, good, mate.
So, we did food last week, shallow depth of field. That was kind of our thing. And we were using our S-Spend psych. Drinks this week.
Yes, glassware and drinks. So, it'll be a little bit more of the backlit lighting technique we'll use. And I will use the matte surface board as well as a highly reflective surface as well.
So we're going to work our way up. Let's start with glassware, then we'll go to glassware with something in it, and then let's go to cold, frosty, incredibly, I really want to sink my... And then if we have to, we'll just drink them at the end of the night.
Okay, that sounds good.
So how do you want to get started?
Well, we've got a single glass. We'll start with that, this cocktail glass.
Single martini glass? I must say, I'm a bit partial to a cocktail.
Oh, are you?
Yes, it has been one of my great joys in life. Some people are really into wine, Pinots. No, I'm not really there.
Cocktails.
Cocktails is my thing.
So, fairly clean with the glass. I'm just going to set up a single shot of a single empty glass and see what backlight does to transparent object. And
so again, we're going to be infinite psych effectively.
Yep, that's the effect of this with light coming from below and behind.
I just got to get me one of these things.
Okay.
So you've just got the light from below, right?
Just below and behind, no front light at all. And one of the reasons is we don't want any light actually to reflect into the surface. So we don't want light coming from the front that'll reflect off the glassware.
Right, because if we had a light here, we'd actually get a sort of a line, wouldn't we?
You'd get it, that's right, specular reflection of the glass. Now, it is a moulded glass, and I can see as I twist it, I get various shapes at the edges because the glass varies in thickness. So the refraction of the light coming through from the back corners.
Would that vary with these different glasses?
Let's try another one. Yeah, absolutely none at all. What I'm looking for in the sides of the glass are clean, straight edges, and that one gives it to us nicely. I think that's largely because of the thickness of the glass. Let me show you what I mean by that.
Take a shot, maybe.
Yep. Okay.
So this is a similar setup to we had in part 1?
Yes. Yeah, it's still the same idea. We're just going to shoot tethered to the computer and line up a single glass in front of the...
Will we be using a flash or long exposure?
Last time it worked really well with just the available light, time exposure. We haven't got anything moving in the subject, so we'll stay with that available light idea for the moment. Okay.
What megapixels or actual full res is this shooting at? Is it it's like a 6 or something?
No, this is a 13.
13, wow.
Approximately 13 megapixel camera. I'm just going to change the base plate on it.
Didn't mean to be rude.
And
you have told me, but what is the name of your tripod slash permanent moving thing?
The camera stand. This is a Foba camera stand, and it's an old beast, but it glides, moves very nicely, and it just allows me to change height.
Yeah.
Yes, be very stable and change height very easily without taking the tripod legs in and out. The other advantage of a camera stand, but it's really for a very small amount of work, is that time where you have to get absolutely over the top and look straight down on something. There are other ways to do it, but this makes life easy for me in the studio. So don't take it on location.
No. As we've seen.
Okay. Okay, so you see what I mean about the thickness of the side.
So we're balanced for tungsten again?
Now, balance for tungsten. Now, as far as exposure is concerned, if you use the camera's meter, it's virtually an all-white subject. And the camera's meter is going to look at the brightness of that and give an average exposure which will reproduce that white as a grey.
Okay.
And this is one of those few occasions where, despite the sophistication of the camera's meter, we have to override it.
Because we want white, not...
We want white, not grey.
Mid-tone, yeah.
So the camera's meter will reduce everything to a mid-tone. And we want this to be lighter than the mid-tone. So, in effect, I'm going to take the camera meter's exposure and open up, give more exposure than that.
Okay.
Indicate to the camera that the picture is going to be overexposed, and that will change the camera's exposure from a grey to a white, or very nearly white. So at the moment I'm just going to do a test at one stop overexposed from the camera's meter.
Okay, so I can see much more clearly what you're talking about there with the blacks on the side and stuff.
Yeah, now we could easily retouch those a little bit, but we've got a very plain tone of white here in a clean glass. Now this is more interesting with a curved, bent stem. And I still see some shapes in the sides there, but maybe at one point they'll be less obvious than others. So what we're actually seeing is the edges of what's behind in the shot. So we're seeing straight through the glass for part of it. Because the glass is curved, we're also seeing what happens back here. And I can change the effect of that by putting black outside of frame.
Right.
And that'll pick up some darker shapes at the edge. I'm just using black A4 paper from the stationery supply. I find it very difficult to print on this paper, black ink.
Yes.
So I don't know what people use it for, but I find it very useful in the studio. So you see that gives us a different shape down the edges. So we get a more defined,
much more defined, isn't it?
Line down the edge. So what we're actually seeing through the glass is something from directly behind, but also something from outside of frame, like back 3/4.
Shall we try filling up our glasses?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're going to do first is make a Cosmo. Not that this is part of the class, right? But we figured we'd just include the behind the scenes. I'd like to point out that the vodka today has been donated as a Christmas present by one of the PhD postgrad who came over and visited us in the office. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Get rid of our eggs from part one. And should also point out that we like to have our Cosmos made with 3 parts vodka, 2 parts Cointreau. Now, dash more. We want some colour in our drink. Okay, Tim. Note this is a beta discrete cocktail glass. How's that?
Okay. Well,
do you need a second one, or are you all right?
Yeah, no, let's have a look at that one on its own. It's quite a dark shape with no front lighting, of course, that comes onto that.
Lemon one as well, if you need it.
Very simple and unadorned, really straightforward. Just to frame up a little bit.
Now, did you say you wanted to get some front light on that, or is that not going to be possible?
Look, we're putting other things in it. We probably do need to put a little bit of front light onto the rind that you put in there, but maybe that could come with a mirror or a light over the top. Let me show you what a light over the top looks like.
So what has the over-the-top light given us?
Well, it's illuminated the rind that's hanging in the glass slightly.
Right.
It's also brightened the surface of the cocktail in the glass. I'm not so sure. I think we might actually recompose this at a lower level and come right down to level with the liquid in the glass.
Okay. Might look nicer. Do you think that would work better with the lime at the back and the lemon at the front?
It does. We don't see the one behind at all. Okay. So it needs to... Actually, if you leave the one on that right-hand glass where it is,
yep.
and we'll bring the lemon to the front left of the back glass. Keep going, stop.
I think the lemon needs to be art-directed back around to the side a bit more. Looks kind of odd there, doesn't it? I like the composition of what you've done. Going lower, I think, works really, really well. It's always the little things that take the time. How's that? Try one like that?
Yeah, I think it's better if it breaks the outside edge of the glass. Yep. But not the same as the lime on the right.
Yeah, we don't want them to be symmetrical. There seems to be almost a halation going on with the environment. Is that correct, or is that just an optical illusion?
Well, the top light is giving us a little bit of more brightness in the body of liquid, that, especially down near the bottom. So without the top light on, we'll have a more saturated effect. But we would like to have some density in the lemon. So
well, I guess we could always post-correct the liquid darker and richer in...
Well, probably the easiest way in this regard would be to make two exposures, and one with the top light on, one with it off, and then just use those bits with the top light on that we think are better.
Do we have those two exposures now, or should we bracket that?
We do, but without anything moving, I'm just going to do two more.
Okay.
That'll match ourselves up a little bit better.
So, what about if we were to introduce now to our problem something like some of these bottles? Because we've got some very interesting bottles. Let me bring some of these out and show you. Some of these are all real bottles. Some of them are quite stunning. And let's introduce those into the equation. Perhaps I'll, while that's going on, I'll make up a more appropriately coloured drink that isn't. Because now we're dealing with shapes that aren't the classic shape of the cocktail. And I'll remove those two. Classic margarita now. Always get your tequila with NOM, N-O-M, in the subtle small print. It indicates high quality original tequila from Mexico. You can't really get good tequila in Australia, so we have to import this stuff. But yes, we'll do Tim a margarita on the rocks, I think. So we're doing 2 parts tequila to 1 part Cointreau, and of course, fresh lime. Do not be tempted to use artificial margarita mix. We're having it on the rocks. No salt. Just the way like Mr. Huser likes it. There you go, Tim. Our margarita for our tequila shot.
Okay.
Now, strictly speaking, this isn't tequila, right? But it just looks nice, so we'll just put it there anyway.
Yeah, well, just an arrangement of shapes and colour. And so,
special thanks to John Montgomery, who provided the tequila.
Now, I see this as being a shot that we might just leave a little bit loose.
Yep. Now, you've come over with a top light? Yes, there's a top light on.
There's a top light on at the moment. I think we will need something from the front for the labels on the bottles.
Okay.
Without that, you'll see, for example, on the bottle on the right, with no light coming to the front other than what bounces up through the floor, up through the bottom of the table, we'll see virtually nothing of the label. Now, if it was an advertising shot, I think the product manager would like to see the name on his label, or her label.
Or her label.
Okay. So that's it with the top light, and that's what it looks like without the top light.
So, I guess the couple of obvious points is the big black line down our gorgeous bottle on the camera right, which is an internal refraction, I presume.
Yes, it's the thin edge on the left-hand edge of it.
Clock that left or right?
I think we probably should, because we're also getting a bit of an ugly shape where the label wraps around. It's not quite level.
Yep.
Or we're a bit higher than level with it. So we'll the top light back on.
Should we just straighten it up?
I'll do one like that so you can see what that looks like, and then the other option is actually to have that bottle square on a point where those sides are minimised. We still have a slightly uneven label. The label's probably a little bit rotated, so it's higher.
Could you,
at the back.
Yeah, what if you went lower? Would that help us with the label?
Yes, it would.
Do you want some like droplets of water on the front of the surface? Some ice even?
On the glass, yes. Well, because there's ice in the glass would naturally frost up. I don't know with this density of liquid in the glass whether we'll see anything at the front
I was just
at
wondering
all.
if you
When we come to spritz it, we'll
Did you want to dress any
have
ice
a look.
in?
Adding a little bit of ice to the foreground. And then it's in a sea of ice.
Well, as I say, it may or may not be a good idea.
No, look, I don't mind it. I don't think it hurts. What I do see, though, is that the bottles aren't exactly level. Now, it could be the shape of the bottle, or it could be the weight of the bottles on the perspex. But I see that the limoncello one is slightly leaning to the right compared to the others.
Yep.
So one way around that is just underneath its right edge. I'm just going to slide a wedge of very thin folded card. Okay.
Your black paper you had before, if we place that off camera right, would that cause the ice to catch some darks?
Well, yes, it would. Where did I put it? What does it need to be? Holding back from underneath. Possibly it does. Not a great deal.
Not working a lot?
No.
So probably just need to contrast those up in post.
So they need, yes, well, there's very subtle white on white. Now, I quite like the idea of that, where the limoncello is just touching the tequila on the left, and I might just tighten things up a little bit, just to give ourselves a slight touch of product to product. A little bit more. Now the ice isn't going to last here very long, but I think we're about there really. This is quite a simple arrangement. It's good having you here to do this, Mike, because we can get it done very quickly. Sometimes if it's an art director here, we might have...
I have been with art directors who have taken a very long time to reach position. Can we try that now with the top light off, just so we have a point of comparison? And also, I think you mentioned before bouncing something into the black label on the right.
Yeah, see, if the top light, which I'd ignored actually until now, had been actually on the label.
So that's bent over now.
And then... Okay.
Well, that's definitely better in terms of the labelling.
Now with the top light off completely.
Oh, that was the top light off, was it?
So you can see how we need it for the
definitely
text of the...
Yeah. Now, if we wanted to make that look cold, we could try spritzing the glass a bit. Normally we put some glycerin in there.
So I'll just hold a bit of paper in behind there for you to spray the glass. Now, because it's very
subtle, isn't it?
Very subtle, and it's very opaque, really. That almost opaque the body of liquid in the glass. That I don't really see the spritzing at the front.
Having said that, you've now got the logo reading well, and I think we'd only just want to darken that up, right? I mean, because I think the colours are a bit flat. Well, better on the right, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, we could perhaps increase the vibrance of some of the subtle colours, especially the bottle on the right. It's quite a subtle tone, so it could be just given a little bit of a boost.
So what I want to do now is let's try and get something that looks really cold and inviting. Mm-hmm. Let's do some mojitos, and we're going to do mojitos, Tim, one with mint and another version, a tequila version with coriander.
Coriander.
So the trick to a good mojito is to have fresh ingredients. So I like to have lots and lots of fresh mint. The other one I'm going to make with huge amounts of fresh coriander, or as Americans would say, cilantro. I tell you, I like end of term. Get to have a bit more fun. So mint goes well with our friend Mr. Bacardi. By contrast, we'll have Mr. Tequila in our one with coriander. They're both going to get lime. Again, only fresh lime. Okay, and then they need simple syrup provided by our friends at Avid, at least the containers provided by our friends at Avid. And this is a mixture of sugar and water. Actually, you've got to heat it up, then cool it down again. It's about 2 parts sugar, 1 part water. So this is pretty sticky stuff, really. What we need to do now is muddle. You want to bruise the drinks, and then top with ice, and finally with soda water. So a little bit at the top. You don't want to dilute your alcohol too much. These, by the way, are recipes courtesy of Cocktails on the Fly. And I have these terrific straw/spoons, which I like to use. And I think you're going to look good, Tim, on camera. Okay, the classic mojito and our tequila variation. There we go. Now, Tim, how do you want those to be dealt with?
Oh, goodness. Well, this is certainly something I think we want to see the detail in the leaves in the glass.
I think we could afford to...
definitely lighting from the front.
Embellish them a little, yeah?
Okay.
Bit of...
Going all native and jungle, ought to say.
Yeah, I think we need to go native and jungle. Here we go. And cilantro, as my American friends would say. It took me the longest time to work out what the heck cilantro was. Coriander, of course we have so much Thai food in Australia. We're used to coriander, we're just not used to calling it cilantro. How's that? That's looking pretty interesting. Do we need the volume at the bottom to come up on the mint? It's a bit separated, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It needs to go up, or the other one goes down.
This is why I did not bruise my coriander and mint too much, because I knew that if I did, they'd look a bit messy.
Okay, so now they're stainless steel straws, aren't they?
They are, sir?
So I want to bring up a little bit of specular highlight down the shaft of those.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure about this, Mike, but we'll just see about a light from very close and on the side. And it also should give us a bit of illumination into the leaves themselves, inside the glass.
So how are we going to make these look appetising and incredibly cold?
Well, that's where we come to the spritzing or droplets of water on the outside of the glass and on the leaves themselves. So that's going to be the thing that makes them fresh. So we should do this pretty quick. You've got some water there and
thicken it up with some
glycerin, about 50-50. Now, we're the first layout of the two cocktail glasses with red.
Yep.
In them, we had them staggered.
Yep.
A little bit with two different plants in here. I quite like the idea of them being up like soldiers.
Yep.
Side by side.
Yes, because there's something about them being separate but equal.
However, there is a little bit of overlap in the greenery, which we might just to be separate. So how's that looking?
I think the coriander just needs to come out of the glass a bit more, don't you think?
Yeah, it does, and yeah, it doesn't take long, but already the mince, and it's all going to start to sag. This is one of those things where we need to have
tons of it.
a
We have
supply
bags
to
of it.
replenish
Yep.
quite quickly, because the leaves will droop very quickly.
Do you want to rip that one out and go for a fresh one? I've gone for ridiculously over-the-top amounts of...
Okay, well, not bad. This one is mostly back to us.
Okay.
Wouldn't mind seeing
Front version?
something towards the front.
Yep.
A little bit effect of that straw
And I'll spritz
lying
again.
parallel to its partner. Oh yeah, that's lovely.
That mix of glycerin and versus water really does have a much more... Just water is too thin. Doesn't work.
Yeah, the glycerin will just allow the water to have increased surface tension, which will help it stick to the
Surface of the glass, not run down. So it'll bead a bit more. Another possibility
Yep.
is if prior to shooting we actually polish the outside of the glass with car polish.
Car polish, so it
Buff
beads.
it off so it beads more.
Okay.
With a bit of
Good tip.
thin skin of that on.
We're worth trying... I know we weren't going to do this week. We're worth trying one forward and one back with depth of field.
Yes. Who's your hero? Which is your favourite? The
Well, I
mint
thought
or
if we
the
saw past...
You're a coriander man.
Well, no, I think...
Yeah,
mint
bring
should
them
be-
both forward, I think, so it doesn't drop onto the slope of the background. There we go.
So he saw past mint to coriander, and coriander was out of focus, or vice versa. He's got some sagging coriander here. I'm just going to do
change away.
coriander surgery. There we go.
So I might just allow a little bit of air between them.
Do you want me to go camera right?
No. I'm just changing camera position slightly, which will
Have a look at that.
Can I have a suggestion? Can you go lower than the height of the drinks and look back and up?
Mm-hmm.
Do you still think you could get depth if you went in closer, wider? Or would you running out of ability to get the back one out of focus?
If we went with a wider angle lens,
Or you're in closer, pushed in?
and pushed
yeah.
in closer,
So
well,
that
with
one
this
was-
lens, if I went tighter, we'd have a shallower depth of field.
Well, let's see what happens if we go in tighter. Because if we go in and we're in and low, really accentuate that front guy being enormous. How are we going?
There's no reason why I suppose we need to keep the coriander at the front. It's just quite wide, that big leaf on the left. But
The mint
if
one?
we just allow ourselves to lose that out of frame.
Now, see, I'm liking that. I'm liking that a lot. But I think we need to art direct and swap. You want to try that?
Yeah.
Luxury cocktails. Now, if you're in the Northern American student demographic base, you're sitting there thinking, why have we got all these summery cocktails? But it's actually quite hot here, isn't it, Tim?
It is quite hot today.
And now, see, it's looking quite nice. Maybe, shall we clock, to use that expression, the front glass so we don't get the top bit of coriander so we're out of focus?
That's right. What we've also got is emptiness down the right-hand side.
And I'll double spritz. When you're photographing stuff like this, Tim, how often is it that the plan you start with is the plan that you end up with? I mean, do you find that you stick to the plan, or is it more you experiment?
Well, I think we're experimenting all the time. It depends what the plan is. Sometimes the shot might need to fit a very specific layout, and so whilst we've been mucking around with a composition here, that would change. That situation would change if we had to fit a certain shape.
That's almost perfect. I think we should have a piece of paper, your piece of paper trick at the back. Can we do that? Can I nick a piece of paper?
Yep.
Because I think the mint glass looks like it's leaning over to me a bit.
It does, just a tiny bit folded up. I'm also getting a slight unwanted reflection off that face of that glass.
Which way is the
it's
mint
wet.
leaning? It's leaning in, right? Is it leaning into the centre? So it needs to lean away from the centre.
And I've got a reflection in the front part of the glass in that previous shot. I'm just going to lift the light slightly. Hopefully still get a shaft of light in the stainless steel, but not so much in the glass itself.
Let's see whether your paper trick and light trick have worked for us. Oh, yes. Well, I like that. Can I borrow a sharp knife?
Still at a yes. Now, do we have enough light in the coriander inside the glass? That's the question.
Well, I think we've got it, Tim.
Well,
So, the only question left is, which cocktail would you like? The mojito, the Cosmo, the margarita? Actually, I've got the margarita, so...
Well, you have the margarita. Well, what a choice. These two have looked fantastic, so I'm going to have a go at one of those.
the tequila coriander. Good choice.
Now, I don't know whether to put it on in the salad or drink it.
So, guys, thanks so much for being with us this term. Tim hopefully will be returning in the April 08 term. Tim, cheers. Thank you so much for a great term.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, it's been fun.
And we really appreciate you guys contributing in the forums. It makes a huge difference, so thank you. Until next time, Tim, cheers.
Cheers.